Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Let's see what's going on with Ethereum. We're just going to do a little watch party here. Nothing too crazy, but we are inching towards a modest $1,900. And so we will surely watch to see what happens. So let me just post this in a few different places, and we will jump in. We're currently at 1883. Let me just post this. All right. So Ethereum is coming in hot at 1880. We're now at 1883. Bitcoin is doing some stuff, right? It's at 59.5. The Ether Bitcoin valuation is still nothing to get out of bed for. You know, I know some of you guys like having Forbes on speed dial, but again, you know, we still have a ways to go here. We're still fairly, the Ether valuation against Bitcoin is still somewhat undervalued compared to sort of our trend line, our general trend lines moving up. And I mean, we could always come down even further potentially. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the Ether Bitcoin valuation. But again, it's nothing to get out of bed for. If you're watching this live stream, we'll just take this one step at a time. So the Ether USD valuation is at 1883. We know the all-time high of Ether is just over $2,000, a modest $2,000, around $2,040. Let's take a look at the extension from the 20-week for Ether Bitcoin, and we basically see that, I mean, it is fairly low right now. I mean, it's even gone below this general move up we've been on. So it is fairly low at the current time. And the reason it's so low, at least with respect to what it has been, is because it's been trending sideways for weeks. It's almost like, bear with me for a minute, but it's almost like time is on our side, right? It's like time is on our side. Why? Because the extension from the 20-week over here was a modest 127%. Right now, the extension from the 20-week has gone down, and we're only up 48%. And if we went to the prior all-time high, we would only be up about 60% or so from the 20-week moving average. So again, with regards to extension from the 20-week moving average and the idea that we generally should be trending down in terms of macro level volatility and extension from the 20-week moving average, time remains on our side, right? And if you look at, say, the long-term view of Bitcoin again, we can see the same chart. So we'll pull up that indicator, the log of the price over the 20-week moving average. Let's switch this to the weekly time frame. Again, so you guys see that same general trend down in terms of extension from the 20-week. So again, for Ethereum, time remains on our side, and we're just systematically moving up, basically. I mean, if you go all the way back over here, we're just sort of systematically moving up. And I mean, it'd be crazy if this was just really some super long journey that we're taking, you know, that maybe will intersect, I don't know, summer of 2022 or something. I don't know. So we are certainly on this long journey. Currently, we're coming in at just over $1,880. And obviously, we want to make a run at 1,900. One of the things that's interesting, I think, is when you look at the Ether Bitcoin valuation, we're still bearish. The Ether Bitcoin valuation is still bearish. And until we get above the bull market support band for the Ether Bitcoin valuation, which again is a combination of the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA, I think that people will still remain somewhat bearish on the Ether Bitcoin valuation. But we know how quickly things can change. You know, sentiment changes on a dime, right? Sentiment changes on a dime. Everyone's super depressed. Everyone's super depressed when we're in these regions over here. And you know, the whole narrative is that Ethereum is not worth anything anymore and that everything's going to take it over. And then whenever you get back up here above it and you're sort of coming into these regions, everyone's super bullish, and then it becomes more like the Ethereum maxi type thing, like Ethereum maximalist. against, but then a lot of times we just keep coming back down. So let's just be pragmatic, right? So these are the times. These are the times to figure out a plan, to stay resolute, to stay diligent, disciplined, and to say, you know what? If we're fortunate enough yet again to go back up to the top of the trend line, it doesn't mean that we will break it. Now, it doesn't mean that we won't. Of course, we could. But if you are overexposed on Ethereum and you've been complaining about it for the last few couple months, if we were to go back up to the top eventually, then you might consider that a place to offload some risk back to Bitcoin if you're uncomfortably weighted into the Ethereum direction. So again, I think having more Bitcoin than Ethereum is probably ideal in terms of a risk-adjusted portfolio. If you want to be more risky, you have less Bitcoin, more Ethereum. If you want to be incredibly risky, you start venturing out with other cryptocurrency like altcoins and whatnot. But let's see if we can approach our $1,900 mark. We are coming in fairly quickly. These are weekly candles, so we were able to move past the prior weekly candle tops so far. We'll see where it closes at the end of the week. We are moving back up. It's interesting, if you compare sort of like Ethereum at 2K and Bitcoin at 20K, there are some similarities, right? Coming up, holding it as resistance here. Let's switch this over to the daily time frame. What do they say, right? What do they say? The more you test it, the more likely you are going to break it. So we tested it here. We tested it here. We're heading up. Okay, we're heading up. And I'm in a group. I'm in a group with a few hundred people, and we were talking about, there's a lot of discussions about how it was like there's so much fear. There's so much fear for Ethereum, and it's sort of like we hit peak fear for a bull market, where like literally everyone was saying that every other chain was going to overtake Ethereum. And I think some people just, you should think about these things from a practical perspective, right? If Ethereum, and we talked about this in the fundamental analysis video, if Ethereum wanted to lower the gas fees, they could do that, right? We know they could do that. I mean, is the idea that you have the most developers on any chain is on Ethereum and they can't figure out how to raise the gas limit? I mean, they could do it again, but it would sacrifice some level of decentralization, so they're choosing not to. So a lot of chains are solving it in a way that Ethereum doesn't want to solve it. So Ethereum's going about it in a different way. I think it is among the most cutting edge technology what they're trying to do. And one thing to consider is that altcoins, so things besides Bitcoin, and in this case we're talking about things besides Bitcoin and Ethereum, will likely yield higher returns as measured from their bottoms to their tops. And that's the reason why I hold other altcoins like Link, ADA, and DOT, and more. So I hold positions in other cryptocurrencies. But having positions in the larger market cap coins are sort of like your blue chips, hopefully, and they should protect you somewhat from a crash. Now, if Bitcoin does crash 50%, then Ethereum would crash as well, but altcoins would be crashing a lot harder. So yeah, you might not have quite as much upside as other projects that we also follow and I invest in, like Cardano, Polkadot, and others, and Chainlink. You might not have as much upside over the entire market cycle, but it also likely will not be quite as volatile as some of the other altcoin projects. So it sort of depends on what your risk appetite is, right? How risky do you want to be? The riskier you want to be, you maybe bite off more risk with altcoins. If you want to be a little bit more conservative, then you focus more on some of the larger cap coins. But you have to figure that out, right? You have to figure that out. And just recognize that for those profits that you see on altcoins, there is risk associated with it. So right now we are at $18.90, so we're just $10 shy of breaking through 1900. And from our current valuation to get up to a new all-time high, we would need to go up another 8% or so. So that's probably not going to happen on stream. But it is, we're certainly heading in the right direction. Ethereum is certainly heading in the right direction. We'll see if we can sort of move past this point right here. I know you guys like lines on a chart. We'll draw a line on a chart, and we'll see if we can break past that and continue moving higher. Hopefully up to well past $1,900 and back up to the 2000 or 1950 area. So this is the next area to look at. Ether Bitcoin is actually moving up. We're now at 0.0318. It's showing some signs of life because, again, Bitcoin is not going into price discovery mode yet. So remember, if Bitcoin is above the 20-day or the 20-day SMA and the 21-day EMA and below its prior all-time high, this is like the Goldilocks region for Ethereum. So this is a great region for Ethereum to start shining in before Bitcoin. I mean, if Bitcoin does go back into price discovery mode, then the Ether Bitcoin valuation would likely bleed. But if we're just chilling on this region for a while, then we know, based on if history is any indication, then we know that the Ether Bitcoin valuation can move up during that time period. So that's what we want to keep an eye on. Now, let's pull up our regression rainbow. We have our Ethereum regression band, which I know a lot of people like to see on the channel. So we'll pull that one up first. Let's auto this out, zoom out. And we're going to switch this over to the weekly chart. Okay, so this is our regression band. Okay, and then this is the regression rainbow. Okay, so one of the interesting things about this, the rainbow chart here, let me switch this back to the daily just so I can see something. Yeah, so let's go back to the weekly. So, a $2,000 Ethereum is nice, of course. We want to see a $2,000 Ethereum, but we've already seen it. We have already seen a $2,000 Ethereum. And so a $2,000 Ethereum at this point, again, it's nothing to necessarily get out of bed for, considering the fact that we've already seen a $2,000 Ethereum and the fact that a $2,000 Ethereum, the Ether Bitcoin valuation on a $2,000 Ethereum is still not going to be that impressive, right? I mean, unless Bitcoin crashes and then Ether goes to $2,000, the Ether Bitcoin valuation for a $2,000 Ethereum is not going to be that impressive. I think what would be more so ideal would be looking towards, say, a $2,500, a $3,000 Ethereum. If you look at the regression rainbow on Ethereum, we've sort of seen this area before, right? When we're in this sort of this yellow band right here. We've been in this area before, kind of riding that yellow band for a while. But in the same way that Bitcoin likely will not go to regression bands from prior cycles, at least the peak regression band, right? If we zoom back out. So in the same way that Bitcoin likely will not go to the peak regression band from prior cycles. Remember, if you're new, the general implication is that from one cycle to another, Bitcoin is unable to make it to the same regression band at the peak. It sort of drops down a couple. And so with that in mind, the idea is that Ethereum probably will not make it to this regression band. I mean, we could have even had a regression band above this one, because you can see there's a little wick. There's a little wick right there that goes above even the red one. But the idea is we're probably not going to make it to this regression band again. But again, time is on our side, right? Time is on our side. So this is still moving up. So the price corresponding to that valuation, let's see if I can find it, right here, would be from $10,000 to $18,000 today. So to me, this is a runaway train that cannot be reached. Now, these are still moving up, so I'm not saying Ethereum can't eventually go to $10,000. It just isn't going to $10,000 today or next week or likely next month. I don't know that it'll go there this year. But the nice thing is that these are monotonically increasing, so that eventually these other lower regression bands will eventually hit $10,000 themselves. So this one is already at 10K. So I'm sort of being conservative and saying that we cannot go to these regression bands. Okay, now we could, and I'll be extremely happy if we do. But let's be conservative, and then be pleasantly surprised if it does happen. So I think conservatively, the peak of the market cycle for Ethereum could be either the top of the, I think the top of the purple one is theoretically possible. So again, time is on our side, right? The longer it takes us to get there, I think the higher it will generally go. So I mean, if we were to go there sooner, then it might be hard to continue higher. But if it takes a little bit longer, or even longer than that, right? It can go up higher. So currently, the orange one here is coming in at just shy of $3,000. So we could go to the top of the orange band and be at a modest 3K for the valuation of Ethereum. The top of the purple one, which I do think is theoretically possible at some point during the market cycle, is already at $5,400. So that one's going to be a little bit harder to reach, I think. But maybe we can go to the top of the orange one at some point this year, which is only, I mean, if we went up another $1,000, we would be there. Okay, so if the valuation of Ethereum went up 50%, we would basically be at the top of the orange regression line here, the orange regression band. So let me see some other. Let's see what Bitcoin's doing. So Bitcoin's currently at 59,344. So it's still just sitting shy of that $60,000 mark. You can see that it's basically flirting with this regression band, right? Just continuing to get rejected down from it so far. I mean, again, it is increasing, right? It was here. It was at 58.8. When we hit it a few weeks later, it was just at 60 about $61,000 or so. And now for us to get there, it would probably be closer to $63,000. If I get an exact number, it would be 62,941 for us to reach the top again, for the valuation of Bitcoin USD. Yeah, so I mean, I guess we can just sit here and watch the Ethereum price. If you guys have any questions, let me know if you guys have any questions. By the way, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Let's go for 300,000 subscribers. Give the video a thumbs up. Check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. I will post the Telegram channel. We have over 29,000 people, so if you guys want to check it out, I'll post it in the comments. Remember, I will not message you first. I will not message you first. I will not message you first. So if someone is pretending to be me and you're like, oh, is this Ben? You just ask yourself, will Ben message me first? The answer is no. So if someone messages you pretending to be me, it's a scammer, because again, I will not message you first. And remember too, this is the last day. This is the last day of the altcoin season sale. If you guys want to check it out, you know, I'm not going to mention it too many more times. So if you guys want to check it out and lock in the low rate, you can do that. You can find a link to it in the description below or in the comments. You'll get access to the weekly reports and videos, the Telegram alerts channel, the risk dashboard, the Into the Cryptoverse app, and more. So check that out if you guys want. And let's maybe go through some questions. Currently, let's actually look at, say, like a minute time frame. I mean, not that we can do any useful analysis on it, but it's interesting to at least see what Ethereum's doing on the minute time frame. You can see that it was basically just chilling around 1850. It just had a major move up to $1,900, back down, and we are slowly trending up here. Okay, we're slowly trending up. Let's maybe do some house TA. We haven't done that a little bit. So let's go up to $1,900. We'll go over. Maybe we'll go into our nice little house somewhere over here. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if we're able to make it there or not. And then maybe we'll have a little garage as well. But how's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? Let me see if you guys have any questions. Can I make a video on yield farming someday? So we do some of that stuff on the premium list. We're not going to do it on the public channel most likely. What other questions? Someone says they went from 100% Bitcoin to 85% Bitcoin, 15% Ethereum. Asking if it's a good trade. I mean, it depends on, I guess it depends on what valuation of it you got against Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum does look fairly low right now in terms of its Bitcoin valuation, given the trend, but. Yeah, I mean, again, I think so far this cycle looks more similar to 2 cycles ago still, than last cycle, right? Like the general idea of it moving up as quickly as it has been looks more similar to this one than the last one. But let's just keep an eye on Ethereum. We're currently at 1891. Hey, look, there's a scammer in the chat pretending to be me. Oh, look at that. Monthly candle. Yeah, we can look at the monthly candle. Let's look for Bitcoin. Let's go to the monthly candle. I mean, this will be 6 months in a row, right? October, November, December, January, February, March. 6 monthly candles in a row that are green. The last time we had that, I mean, this one, so in 2019, we had 5 in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The last time we had 6 in a row was not even the last market cycle. And that's why I keep saying that this cycle looks more similar to 2 cycles ago. The last time we had 6 in a row was actually way over here. I mean, here's 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I think we also had, let's see, this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here was 6 as well. So, I mean, you would literally have to go back to like 2013 to find a time when Bitcoin put in 6 green monthly candles in a row. And unless we have a major crash in the next 5 hours, this would be another green candle. I mean, we'd have to drop all the way down to like $45,000 for this not to be a green candle. So most likely this will be a green candle for the 6th month in a row. And we're looking at 28%, and then 42%, followed by 47%, followed by 14, followed by 37, followed by 31. I mean, so let's see what numbers do we have here. So we had let me just pull up a little trusty calculator here. We're just gonna get the average here. So we'll say the average of, I'm doing it on a different screen, of 28, 43. So let me do that. 28, 43, 47, 14, 47, 14, 37, and 31. 37 and 31. So the average of that is, did I do that right? I think it's around 33 maybe. Let me just double check that this is calculating it correctly. Yeah, it was so 33.3. So the average monthly return, the average monthly return on Bitcoin for the last 6 months has been 33%. So another 33% move. I mean, if we basically did average, which again we will have a turnaround point at some point. It's just anyone's guess as to when that's going to be at this point. So another 33% move would take Bitcoin up to almost $80,000. Okay, so if it were to continue the average of the last 6 months, that would take it up to around $80,000, which coincidentally would also be getting fairly close to the top of the regression band, but not quite. The top of the regression band is now at let's switch this over to the daily time frame. So the top of the regression band is now at 89,108, and then the bottom is at 60,428. I'm not saying we can't go above this regression band. I know a lot of you guys think we will, and I would contend there's a decent probability that we do. Remember, it's just fit to 3 data points, nothing more, nothing less. There's a lot of models fit to 3 data points, and so we need to keep that in mind. That at the end of the day, if we get a 4th data point, it'll just hopefully make future fits better, right? So it's fit to this one, this one, this one. And if we were to go back up to the top today, it would correspond to, right now, it would correspond to an $89,000 Bitcoin. But remember, this is increasing by about $70 a day. So the regression line, the upper one, which is, we actually went above it, right? If you actually look at the last 2 cycles, we were actually above it. This wick went slightly above it, and then this wick went maybe like 5% above the regression line, I believe. So right now, the top of the regression band is at $89,000. Again, not saying we can't go above the regression band. It's just a mathematical exercise, again, of the form of this equation. Remember, A and B are fitted coefficients, and X is the number of days. So anyone can make the same fit using that equation. Fairly standard math, right? I mean, I think a lot of people think this is really complicated math. It's really not. I mean, these equations are probably things we learned in middle school. It's just that if you haven't thought about math since then, or since college, you maybe would have just forgot it. But I mean, these are fairly standard equations, right? I mean, it's not that different from, like, your y equals mx plus b. right? I mean, there are some differences, of course, but I mean, everyone did this in like sixth grade, where you just have the slope of your line and your y-axis, right? If you have your x and y, you have your, if you have if this is like 1 and maybe you have a slope here that's, 2 or something, then maybe you would have like y equals 2x plus 1 or something. So this would be 1, and then your slope might be 2x or something, meaning it's going up for every unit, for every 1 unit, it's going up 2. So that'd be like 3, and then that would be 5. So it's going up there, and then there. So then you would have 2, and then 3, and so on and so forth. So I mean, it's not exactly the same thing, but it's not that far removed, right? You see mx plus b. I mean, this is just a times the ln of x minus b, 10 raised to all that stuff. I mean, it's just some type of transformation. So again, not too complicated. That's the only equation. And remember, x is the number of days. So, and then the same thing applies with Ethereum, right? Our regression band for Ethereum, our regression rainbow and whatnot. It's the same stuff. It's just a band of them and not just a single one. How's everyone doing? Let's see if Ethereum can make it to $1,900. We're currently still sitting at $1,893. Let's see if we can make this on track straight to the door. We'll see if we make it there or not. 59.3 is currently where Bitcoin is. ADA is still kind of hanging out, but we're just gonna watch. We're just gonna watch the price of Bitcoin, the price of Ethereum, not do anything too crazy. Let me see. There's a lot of questions coming in, so let me scroll up. Someone says due for a red monthly candle. I mean, I think we've been due for a red monthly candle for a few months, but you really never know when they're going to happen. Yeah, everyone seems very overly bullish for April. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see how long Bitcoin can continue moving up. I do think 6 figures is on the cards at some point this market cycle. We'll see how quickly that'll happen. Alexander, thanks for signing up for the premium list. Do you have any thoughts on how much of your altcoin percentage is Ethereum versus other alts for risk-averse people? I would recommend watching the modern portfolio videos that I do. Let's see if Ethereum's going to take us home. We haven't done our house TA in a long time. Some would say the best TA that there is, right? When you really make it home. But that's where hopefully we're headed. Let's see. Do you have any thoughts on? I already asked that one. Yeah, go watch the modern portfolio theory stuff. Remember, it's just the Sharpe ratio. You can calculate it based on historical returns. You can calculate it based on expected returns. But it's basically like your expected return minus the risk-free rate, right? Over the standard deviation of the excess return, and the excess return is basically just the expected return minus the risk-free rate, which is like your treasury yields. So this will just be the standard deviation of that, and you can basically do that to calculate out, well, based on historical data, what would actually be the most optimal portfolio based on your risk-adjusted returns. Or you could also put in your projected values, like what do you think the valuation of these different assets will go to. Like if you're convinced that Bitcoin's going to go to like, $200,000 and you think Ethereum's going to go to some valuation and you think ADA is going to go to some valuation, then you can use historical volatility and what you project the returns to be to ultimately figure out what your portfolio should be. So it looks something like this, right? Your efficient frontier, you have all your different portfolio weightings. You can do it Monte Carlo. There's a lot of tools to help you with this. I just did it in Python, but it's called the Efficient Frontier, and we have a lot of videos on this. So I don't want to talk about it too much here because we have dedicated videos where we discuss this. Just go find the Modern Portfolio Theory playlist, and you'll see discussions on this and how you can weight your portfolio. All right, let's see if Ethereum takes us home. We're currently coming in hot at 1897. Let's see if we can make it into our house. Let me see what other questions we have. At what price are you going to start taking profit? I mean, again, this is based on your own risk tolerance, right? You have to figure out what your own risk tolerance is. It depends on when you get in too. I mean, if you get in at $100 on Ether, your profit taking area could be at a lower area than maybe someone who gets in for the first time at $1,900, right? So I mean, if you got in at $200, you're already up 10x. If you got in at $1,800, it's nothing to even get out of bed for at this point. So it depends, right? It ultimately depends on where you got in. And remember, crypto is a personal journey, right? And I mean, I can stop my soapbox here as we look at a $1,900 Ether. Let's see if we go in through the garage. So we're back at $1,900 Ether. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up if you guys are enjoying the content. Definitely subscribe. But we are back at a $1,900 Ether, and hopefully the piranhas are eating it right now as we speak. We're actually above it. We're about above $1,900. So we are only $100 away from a modest $2,000 Ethereum. And so remember, Ethereum is here to stay. Right, it's not going anywhere despite the altcoin narrative. I agree these other chains have their own niche cases or niche use cases. They're not necessarily obsolete, but Ethereum is here to stay, in my opinion, and I don't really think it's going anywhere anytime soon. I do think it will stay number 2 for this market cycle. If that turns out to be not true, I'm sure you guys will remind me of it, but I do think that is what will happen. I think Ethereum will stay number 2. Let me see what other questions we have. Yeah, I know you guys like asking me about a lot of random altcoins, but let's talk about more useful things. Can you show us how to get logarithmic regression bands in TradingView? Please help. You just put in the equation. You go over down here to Pine Editor. Go to Pine Editor. You put in your equation there. That's all you do. Go to Pine Editor. You can go to the Pine Script tutorial. It's fairly straightforward. You just put in the equation Pine Editor, this tab that most people ignore down here. Don't I feel the pump we are seeing is actually weak regarding the Visa and PayPal news? I don't really think news matters that much. I mean, yeah, it can cause some moves, but I mean, you just take a step back, and Ethereum's just doing what it's always done. And in my opinion, consolidating in this area, we said that this is the overvaluation reaccumulation phase, right? We said that. That's the overvaluation reaccumulation. Fairly straightforward stuff. It's not as attractive as our reaccumulation phase of a lifetime video or our reaccumulation phase of a lifetime video, but doesn't change the fact that this is our overvaluation reaccumulation phase of a lifetime. That's just kind of that's where I think we are right now. So no, I don't really think the news makes a huge difference. We're just doing what we've always done. Making a major move up, consolidating for a while, and we're starting to move back up. What equation do I use to decide the height of the house? It's very complicated. You have to test the soil, make sure that the soil can support like a septic tank large enough, and so that's basically what I have to do to figure it out. Looks like we're coming up through the garage right here. House TA never fails. Have you guys seen House TA fail? I don't know that it has. I feel like, maybe one fails occasionally, but most of the houses we draw on this channel, the price does intersect on the stream, if you guys have noticed. Are ADA, Link, DOT still good investments to start investing in today? For the optimal Sharpe ratio, 50% Bitcoin, 30% ETH, and 20% alts. I mean, it depends on your risk tolerance. I should probably draw a chimney, right? What the hell am I doing? I don't know if we're going to go up this chimney, but let's draw the chimney. It depends on your risk tolerance. Again, alts are riskier. If I didn't have positions in ADA, Link, and DOT, I'd probably get them and then hope the price comes down. Is probably what I would do. By the way, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. We're still not even getting to 1,000 likes. Yeah, Forbes is on the line. Cancel the interview, guys. We have money to make here. If you're on the phone with Forbes, you're going to miss out on some stuff. There'll be plenty of time for interviews in the bear market. We'll see if we can crash through here. So the Ether Bitcoin valuation is moving up now. We're at 0.0322. So we are getting a nice little pump. Remember, as long as Bitcoin stays below its prior all-time high and above the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA, this is like the Goldilocks zone for Ethereum that we've discussed before. We were hoping to get it a few weeks ago, right? We were hoping to get it back over here, and then Bitcoin just decided to put in a new all-time high, which Bitcoin is certainly allowed to do. And now we came back down and then back up, and we're sort of back in that Goldilocks region where Bitcoin is still not put in a new all-time high, and Ethereum is starting to rally. So what you want, if you hold Ethereum, what you would like to see is you would like to see Bitcoin not put in a new all-time high, and to give Ethereum the show for a few days. So that's what we would want to see. Okay, so yeah, Forbes hung up. I think that's a good thing. They'll call you back later. So I'm just reading through some of the questions. Someone says 2,000 likes equals $2,000 Ethereum. I don't know if that's true. It seems like there's a rumor in the chat that a 2,000 likes on the video will get us to a $2,000 Ethereum. That seems kind of a little bit far-fetched. I'm not sure that we'll make it there that quickly, but you never really know. I drew the chimney on the wrong side of the house, someone says. I mean, you know, that could have been a builder mistake. It's possible. It's possible that the chimney was on the wrong side of the house. All right, Ether Bitcoin's at 0.0321. What's Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin's still at 59.4. So, I mean, essentially what we want is we want Bitcoin to just sort of sit still and not do much of anything. Let's take a look at some other things. Let me pull up another Ether USD chart so we can actually like play around with some stuff. What else can we look at here? Let's see. Actually, why don't we haven't looked at like the RSI in a while for well, actually I don't really care about the RSI for Ether USD. Let's look at it for Ether Bitcoin. So yeah, it's bottomed at like 38 in December, which is where it usually bottoms. Now it's back up to 49. So we're still, I mean, based on the weekly RSI, we're still, you know, we're basically right at 50 or so. So we could still theoretically have a decent amount of room up, or decent amount of room to go up. This is an interesting thing to look at. We'll see if we make it back to that level if we continue to move up. All right, Ether is starting to move again. So we're now at 1914, 1915. $2,000 isn't that far away. I mean, if you think about it, it's really not. 2,000 is here. So, you know, I mean, we're not that far away from it. A modest 4.5%. Modest 4.5% to get to $2,000. It's funny because I have seen a lot of people, and I sort of poke fun at it too. I've seen a lot of people talk about how Ethereum is dead and whatnot. And this is just another example of how quickly it can get moving again. Yeah, exponential moving averages put more weight on more recent prices. Everyone's saying that this is the moon. This is not the moon. Well, I mean, I guess you could argue that it is. But I mean, it's basic physics to know that if you get to the moon, the gravity from the moon, you can launch from there much easier to go to Mars, just because the gravity is like 1/6 of that of Earth. So maybe you could call it that. Remember, everyone's moon is somewhat different. It sort of depends on where you get into the market. Let me delete that. Remember, we have a Telegram channel. I will remind you, a Telegram channel with over 29,000 people. If you guys want to join it, I'll post it in the chat. Remember, I will not message you first. It is not me. If you're getting a message from someone pretending to be me, remember it's not me. And we also have an Into the Cryptocosm chat room, which is reserved for those people that want to talk about microcaps. So if you want to go talk about microcaps, I'll post that in the chat as well. Go check that out, Into the Cryptocosm. And again, we have the premium list altcoin season sale ending today. So last chance to get in and lock in the lower rate. You can find a link to that in the description below. All right, we're currently at 1910. Let's go back over to this chart and see where we currently are. I mean, again, I think this is the reaccumulation phase, overvaluation, reaccumulation phase, right? Where we're sort of just consolidating for a while. We had similar moves. We've had similar moves in the past. I mean, this one isn't even as bad compared to this one over here, or the one before it. Let's actually go to a chart that has a little bit more data so that it goes all the way back to 2015. Well, we'll see if we're able to put in a new all-time high or not. Currently, again, we're still at 19. Sorry, I just had a voicemail that I was looking up. Yeah, the flash crash on Kraken was really ridiculous, actually. All the way down to $700. $700. Unlucky Gamer says when everyone starts saying Ethereum is dead, you know it's not. Basically, you know it's a great time to buy. Yeah, I mean, I think there were too many people saying it was dead. And I think what's worse, I think what's really unfortunate is that a lot of the people that were saying it's dead were actually fairly prominent people in the space and then influencing their followers to thinking it was dead. Like, it's one thing if you just make your own mistake and think it's dead, but then if you're like misleading people and saying things like it's dead to you know, hundreds of people or something that are, or thousands of people, I mean, it's somewhat a little discouraging because, you know, they have the influence. But to say something is dead after it's up over 2,000% in a year is somewhat irresponsible. I mean, a 2,000% move is a 2,000% move. And how can anyone look at that chart and say that Ethereum is dead? I mean, you cannot look at this chart and say this thing is dead. It's just simply not dead. It moves up and consolidates, right? I mean, it moves up and then it's been consolidating, and then up and then consolidating, and then up and then consolidating. Just doing the same thing it's always done, or at least that it's done since March. And if it is dead, I mean, what you have to consider, what is dead may never die. I mean, Ethereum, according to a lot of people, has died so many times. How many more times can it even theoretically die? So I predict more accumulation phases this cycle for Link 8 and DOT. Depending on your risk tolerance, there's always accumulation phases, right? I mean, anyone, even if you were buying at the peak in 2017, 2018, if your outlook is, say, several years, you could even call that an accumulation phase. So, I mean, it depends on what your outlook is. Like, do you have a 1-year outlook? Do you have a 90-day outlook? Do you have a 5-year outlook? Pick the projects that you think are actually going to stand the test of time. And I think that, you know, it's hard to go wrong, but if you start FOMOing into whatever the flavor of the day altcoin is, then yeah, I mean, it's easier to go wrong. Currently, Ether is still at 1907. We actually should check in on our house. It looks like we're just going through the house. We've avoided our front door, so it has not wanted to go back out the front door. But yeah, I mean, just straight through the house, business as usual, of course. Bitcoin's at 59.5K. Let's see what else. What other questions do you guys have? Yeah, the Bitcoin, we can take a look at the Bitcoin dominance. Let me switch this over to the daily. So we haven't really dipped below these levels since basically last August in terms of the dominance. So we're, Bitcoin is sort of trying to hold on here, right? It's trying to hold on for dear life. It's basically just been right around these levels between basically between 60% and 63%, 64% since for a couple months now. I mean, I think generally speaking, I think generally speaking, obviously, alt season is that way. That's the direction of alt season, and this is the direction of either Bitcoin capitulation or Bitcoin new all-time highs. So we'll see which way it goes. Can I explain the dominance calculation? So the dominance is just the market capitalization. So compared to the rest of the market. So if you look at coin market cap and you see the market capitalization of all these different projects, the dominance of the Bitcoin dominance is the market cap of Bitcoin divided by the market cap of Bitcoin plus the market cap of all the other coins, in parentheses. So you add up the market cap of all cryptocurrencies, you take the market cap of Bitcoin, divide it by the market cap of the entire asset class, and you get your percentage. And so that's where, or you multiply by 100, right? It's just a percentage, and that's where you see sort of the Bitcoin dominance right here. And I mean, it sort of makes sense because if you look at the market capitalization of the entire asset class, it's currently at 1.9 trillion or so, right? 1.9 trillion, and the dominance of Bitcoin is at over 1.1 trillion, which is about 60%, right? 60% dominance, and that's how they're calculating that. I mean, we know it's more than 50%, right? Because I mean, if you take 1.112 trillion and multiply it by 2, then you're over 2.2 trillion, and the market capitalization is less than 2 trillion. So that's where the number 60, around 60% is coming from. Why do you think alt season is over? I never said that, so I don't know. I don't know who you're talking to. Did we leave the house? Someone says we left the house. We did briefly leave the house. Maybe we just had a basement. It's possible. We just went to the basement. We're currently at 1904, 1903.49 on Kraken, 1902 on Bitfinex. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. I think we're at 285,000 subscribers, right? We're at 285. Yeah, we're at 285. So make sure you guys subscribe. Let's go for 290. Someone asked, where do I live? I mean, I drew my house for you right here. Someone says we go lower, the house needs to have a septic tank. The rent on the house is too damn high. That's what it is. Yeah, I know my computer fan is loud. It's a laptop. It is what it is. Right? I mean, it is what it is. All right. Yeah, keep asking questions. I'm just sort of answering questions. I don't really have anything to say about the price, other than just watching it right now. I'm not mining. I'm not mining. Um, Although it might sound like I am. No, I did not get a. I did not get any share yet. No, I'm moving in like in a few months. I'm just gonna wait till then. Someone says he named his dog Ether. I think that's a good one. You know, I told, because you guys know that I'm a fan of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, ADA, and DOT, right? So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, ADA. These are the main four that I followed for a while. And then DOT, which basically just is like the period. So I just call it Bella. So I told my wife if we ever have another kid, we'll have to name her Isabella. She's not too enthusiastic about that, but I keep trying. I do keep trying. Is $100,000 Ether possible in the long term? Maybe in the really long term, it's not. $100,000 Ether is almost assuredly not possible this market cycle. I mean, I don't even know if it'll be possible next market cycle, but it's certainly not possible. I would not assume that $100,000 Ether is possible anytime soon. $100,000 Bitcoin, yes. $100,000 Ether, no. Someone says another kid, you're already a dad. I have 3 kids. I have 3 kids. One's 4, one's 2, and one's 5 months old. Brian says he heard that this whole asset class will be 100 trillion in the future. Do you think that is likely? Maybe, but I mean, I think this market cycle, I would be looking. I don't think it's going to get anywhere close to 100 trillion. Maybe in the future, but not anytime. Not this cycle. Do my kids have their own YouTube channels yet? No, they do not. But all 3 of them have been on this channel at some point. Yes, they are hodler toddlers. Will I discuss projects lower than $1 billion? No, I don't really want to move the market. I look like Elon Musk, maybe before he got his hair transplant. How old am I? You guys seem super bad. Old enough. Do I have any strategies for generating cash flow with Bitcoin? I mean, in crypto, you can earn interest fairly easy on a lot of different platforms, so I am generating cash flow that way. Do I know Celsius Network? Yeah, I mean, I know. I mean, Alex Mashinsky, I know what it is. Um, is this my full-time job? Yes, I quit my job in January to do this full-time. What do I do in my spare time? Basically, hang out with my kids, and I mean, you know, there's pre-pandemic stuff and post-pandemic, or you know, during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, we haven't been able to do as much, but do I think it's possible for the Ether valuation to get to 10% of Bitcoin's price? You know, you have to also consider too that I mean, I personally don't think that the Ether Bitcoin valuation will get to 0.15 this cycle. I mean, maybe it will. I mean, if it does, it would probably happen after Bitcoin peaks. I mean, also you have to consider that the supply isn't constant. So you might want to consider the actual market capitalization of Ether Bitcoin. Like if we take, like, say, the market cap of Ether here, like that might be a more useful metric to look at than Bitcoin. So maybe something like this, where you're looking at the market capitalization of the two projects, not the how the market cap compares, right? Because the market cap of Ethereum right now is 220. The market cap of Bitcoin is a modest 1.112 trillion. So if you go back over to this chart, if I can find it, you know, it's coming in at just, I mean, I think it's around, yeah, right around 0.2 or so, or yeah, does that make sense? Yeah, 0.2, right? 1/5. So it's coming in at about 0.2. So maybe that's the better way to look at it in terms of figuring out what's theoretically possible, not the absolute valuation. In that sense, you know, you could look all the way up to, I mean, here's like 60. I mean, it reached 71% last cycle at the peak or so. So maybe that would be the thing to look at in terms of figuring out what you think the Ether valuation against Bitcoin can go to, would actually be looking at the market capitalizations rather than the price, because it's the market cap that I think is more important. So I just use this to figure out where we might be going. But if you want to actually calculate theoretical limits based on prior performance, look at the market cap probably, because that accounts for the supply as well, whereas just the Ether Bitcoin valuation does not account for the supply at all. No, we don't do super chats here. If you wanna tip me, I would just say go invest it. Have you heard about helium? Yes. Hydrogen and helium, right? If we didn't have that, the sun wouldn't be around. Hydrogen burns into helium. What other questions? What do I think will happen when the pi cycle indicator hits? I think you guys need to remember that the pi cycle indicator, like a lot of models that we also have on this channel, are just fits to 3 data points and not necessarily something you can take to the bank. I think that it provides a useful view, but I don't think it necessarily means that it has to follow any specific model. Do I play any sports? The main sports I used to play were soccer and tennis and basketball. I was never good at baseball though. How did I discover crypto? I took a math class in undergrad on cryptography, and that's where I discovered Bitcoin. But at the time, like, Bitcoin was the only one around, because this was a decade ago. Yeah, I like to play chess. I actually played chess a decent amount. It's like it's the only board game I've played in the last few weeks. have a computer science background. My background is in math, and then my graduate degree is in nuclear engineering. So not specifically computer science, but you can't get through those programs without knowing some comp sci. My chess ELO is around 1700. Favorite chess opening, the Open Sicilian. That's white. $100 USD dot or link. I put that poll out on the channel a few times. What do you guys think? What's going to $100 first, link or dot? Let's see in the chat. What do you guys think? Looks like most people think dot. Some people think link. Looks to be mostly dot. I mean, it makes sense because dot's at $36 and link's at $28. So of course that would be that would make the most sense. The market cap of dot is higher though, so theoretically it would take a lot more volume to move it, but yeah, there's also the Uniswap token, which I do own, by the way. It's at $28 as well. Maybe they'll race to $100. Did you do DFT or MD back then? Yeah, density functional theory or molecular dynamics. Yeah, in grad school. No, I would not beat Magnus. His elo is like twice mine. Well, not twice. I guess it's like 2,800 something, but. What's your day job? This is it. I quit my day job in January. How much crypto do you need to have financial freedom? Depends on what financial freedom is to you, right? I mean, it depends on what country you're in. I mean, you obviously would need to have enough to where you're probably, I mean, if it's sustainably, you know, bringing in enough income each month to live off of and not eat too much into the capital. Or the principal, I mean. What was my day job? Is computational material science, focusing on equation of state modeling of materials under extreme conditions. Is time always going to be on our side? Not for all projects. For some projects it won't be. But I mean, I think generally speaking, for most, I mean, for like Bitcoin, like, I mean, if you look at a Bitcoin chart, it depends on what your outlook is, right? I mean, if you just sort of zoom out and you look to see where we are, like even the major peaks that take us back down are still only temporary, right? So I mean, for Bitcoin, over the entire thing, time is on our side, but there are phases where it does come down. So for Bitcoin, I mean, I would say for the foreseeable future, I would say Bitcoin time is on our side. But again, that's looking at it from like a multi-year outlook and realizing that if things do come back down, it's probably just only a matter of time before they go back up. So for Bitcoin, I would contend that, yeah, time will always remain on our side. But if you're looking for short-term gains, then obviously it becomes a lot more dubious to extrapolate or to consider that. Looks like we're testing our foundation again. Sorry, I'm just trying to read the questions. When am I bringing out into the Cryptoverse merchandise? I don't know. Not today. Not today. How did I learn data science? Just from school. I don't know what my why do you, I don't know all the answers to these questions. People, I don't know what my I honestly don't know what my IQ is. So stop asking me. It's probably not as high as you think it is. What am I playing with? Poker chips. They're actually my kids' magnet tiles. Was I always good at math? Uh, Not really. I mean, I don't know. Is there a simple fundamental reason why values of Bitcoin, Ethereum increase logarithmically? Yes, it's because when the market cap is so low, way over here, it takes a lot less volume to move it, and so price can appreciate a lot quicker. That's why altcoins can generally appreciate a lot quicker than Bitcoin today, because their market caps are a lot lower. It takes a lot less volume to move them. So over time, it takes exponentially more volume to move up each 10x. Therefore, you just sort of curve over, right? This is logarithmic growth, where the more rapid growth happens earlier on, and then it slows down over time. That's the fundamental reason. How many kids do I have? 3. Cats or dogs? Definitely dogs. We have a dog, actually. She's like a 12-pound dog. She's a mix between a miniature pinscher and a chihuahua. Who's my favorite non-crypto YouTuber? Probably 3 blue, 1 brown. 3 blue, 1 brown. Let's see what Ethereum's doing. What are we at? We're at 1906. We're still testing our foundation. Three blue, 1 brown is a math. It's a math channel. Don't schedule the Forbes interviews now. Someone says they just bought the premium report. Yeah, check your email for the welcome email. Spam or promotions tab is where it usually goes. Why is the link not moving? Again, I think it's because Bitcoin volatility remains too high, and I said before I would look probably towards this summer for maybe a more impressive link move. So I would wait until this summer to. I mean, I think it can go up before then, but I don't think it's necessarily going to make a run at 3 figures imminently. Do I own a Tesla? No, I drive a 2007 Chevy. Make sure you guys are subscribing and give the video a thumbs up. Also, remember we had the premium list altcoin season sale. You can lock in the lower rate. The prices will go up tomorrow. So today is the last day. You'll get access to the weekly reports and videos, the Telegram alerts channel, Telegram chat room, the risk dashboard, the Into the Cryptoverse app, and we have something fairly big coming in, hopefully Q2. But I'm still working out the details for it. But we'll talk about that later. Cardano is stuck in neutral. Yeah, I mean it's up 60x in a year, so maybe take a step back. Thoughts on Litecoin? I mean, Litecoin generally bleeds against Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? I mean, if you want to speculate on it, occasionally you can. But if you look at, say, like the Litecoin Ether valuation, right? I mean, it tends to just bleed. I mean, even since then, it still just bleeds against Ethereum, down 82% since April of 2019. Doesn't mean it can't pump occasionally, but again, opportunity cost is high, and it does tend to bleed against Bitcoin and Ethereum. Against Bitcoin, it does go through these phases where it will have a nice move, but it generally trends down. So if you look at the Litecoin Bitcoin valuation, you could say, well, I mean, this is around the time when maybe we would see it turn around. But I don't know. It does tend to bleed, even though, I mean, it is, like, it does seem to have these moves against Bitcoin occasionally, but the peaks still bleed down. So if Litecoin were able to, say, pump, you know, like 200% against Bitcoin, 250% or something, you know, and come back up to this trend line, let's say 220, I feel like it would probably just keep getting rejected down, and it slowly loses value against Bitcoin over time, is my understanding. And if you look at those risk-adjusted returns that we were talking about earlier, if you use Litecoin, I mean, really, with a lot of different portfolios based on the efficient frontier and maximizing your Sharpe ratio, Litecoin is coming in at no more than about 1% or so. Typically speaking, only about 1% of your portfolio. All right, let's see where Ether is. We're still just moving sideways now. Maybe we're going to go to the neighbor's house. Someone, Jumpy Wizard, says he has 2.5 years as a civil engineer. Do you think it will help you in the cryptoverse? Guy good grades, but I had no idea how the math would apply in the real world. I honestly don't even think you need to know how to apply the math. I mean, a lot of these projects, if you just get them in, I mean, bear markets are what make you rich, right? I mean, so if you, whenever I mean, you can make money now too. I mean, theoretically, bull markets can make you money, bear markets can make you rich. You don't need to know a lot of complicated math to invest in crypto in a bear market, right? You just look at it, you recognize it when it's in a bear market. People like to whine and complain, but those that stay disciplined during that time are usually the ones that win out in the end. So I don't think you need to know any type of complicated math to do well in the cryptoverse. You just need to know how to stay disciplined and not let your emotions get the better of you. Do I own any stocks? Yes, of course. Have I looked at the gold to Bitcoin chart? We have looked at it before on this channel. We looked at the 3D chart of the price of Bitcoin versus US dollars, color-coded by the valuation against gold. The problem is like, you know, everyone wants to look at the valuation against gold. And maybe it would be somewhat useful, but qualitatively they look the same as you evaluate against you know, US dollars. If something like Bitcoin is going up like 10 million% over 10 years, it doesn't really matter whether you're comparing it to US dollars or gold. It just becomes somewhat negligible. So the qualitative trend is the same. Maybe it changes things quantitatively slightly, but the qualitative trend is basically the same thing. And that's also if you measure it against say like the S&P 500 as well. Yeah, I don't know about the audio. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We're only we're coming in at 285,000 subscribers, so let's go for 300K. We had a poll out actually. I put out a poll on the channel yesterday, and the last I checked, it was basically break even. What happens first, $2,000 Ether or 300,000 subscribers? Looks like 300,000 subscribers is winning, but Ether is putting up one hell of a fight. Yeah, the premium stuff is just like, it has like risk levels and stuff and long-term strategy and you know, reports on different topics every week, that kind of stuff. A Telegram channel. We're gonna be crashing through the new house soon. Well, I mean, if we're just gonna chill at 1900, we're probably not gonna stay on the stream too much longer. But you know, I mean, we're only about $134 away from the prior all-time high. So, why is it taking forever for Ethereum to get to $2,000? It was literally less than $100 last March. So. Ether Bitcoin valuation still looks pretty good. It's at 0.032. Do you guys have any more questions? Otherwise, we'll probably wrap it up here soon. We've been going over an hour. We've been going like 80 minutes almost. A recap, Bitcoin goes up, Ethereum go up. They both go up, they both go down, they mostly go up. No, Rodney, you're not banned. Have I gotten any plaques from YouTube? No, I haven't. I think you actually have to reach out to them, and I don't really have time for that, so. I don't really have a dream car, to be completely honest. All right, we are at 1909 for the valuation of Ether USD. We'll see if we can start moving again soon. Looks like we're just sort of consolidating between 1900 and 1910 for a while. Yeah, we do some on-chain analysis sometimes. If you go to the channel and type in on-chain, you'll find some for sure. Um, let's see. What do I think is the best strategy with $80? I don't think the amount of money makes a difference, right? I mean, it's all about percentages. You just divvy it up based on what percentage you want to do. Someone says they think this is an April Fool's bull trap. I don't really have any thoughts on Bitcoin Cash, but we don't cover it on the channel. I prefer Bitcoin, honestly, so. All right, should we wrap it up there? You guys remember to check out the Telegram channel. Let me pull it up in case you guys want to check it out. Remember, I will not message you first. We have 29,000 people in there, so if someone messages you, DMs you pretending to be me, remember that it is not me. I definitely will not message you first. And also, the altcoin season sale will be ending today. So if you guys want to check that out, you can lock in the lower rate. Any final questions before we sign off? Looks like we're about to enter our house. We'll leave another house for another stream. Well, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Click the bell icon to turn on alerts if you guys want to be notified of future videos, if that's your thing. If it's not, that's fine. But that'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Definitely hit that subscribe button. Let's go for 290,000 subscribers. If Ether gets moving again, maybe we'll do another stream or something. But that'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.